Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to a series recap. Unfortunately, not the way we wanted it to go. I am your really disappointed host, Mike Azzalina, joined by Regz. I'll let you use your own adjective here in a moment. Um, man, from a team that was looked at as the on top of the world for um almost basically 3 months, 3.5 months, to a first round elimination. It wasn't the bye.
No,
I've had to correct multiple
no,
people.
Jesus,
It,
no,
this wasn't the bye. This
no.
was this is who this team is, um, or who they were for the last 3 months. And JT basically admitted it tonight. He said we just thought we'd turn it on when the lights went on. Um,
Funny how that doesn't work.
yeah, it's super interesting.
Yeah, my I feel betrayed. I think is the adjective that I would use to describe myself.
Good one.
Um, I feel betrayed by a team that started spring training talking about there was one goal, by a team
Yeah,
that came out in the first half and I think proved a lot of us wrong. That like, okay, this team says that, but the past few years have shown that they start slow and they, kind of don't really start trying until June comes around and all these things. And this team came out firing. And I think a lot of us, it kind of raised our eyebrows. And we said, okay, maybe we can believe this. Maybe we can believe these guys. Maybe we can believe that those game 6 and 7 meant something to this group and changed a mentality about how championship seasons can happen. And I don't know what happened, but collectively after the All-Star break, this team decided that it had earned the right to take their foot off the gas.
right.
And since the London series, like we've talked about it, this team is 2 games over 500 and the Mets were 26 games over 500. So when you look at it that way, I don't think you can really be surprised by who won this series. Clearly, the better team for the past 4 months won the series. And the team that thought it somehow had earned the right to take their foot off the gas played the same way they've been playing for 4 months. So I think
Yeah,
we all wanted to believe that it would turn around, that something would change. They have no one to blame but themselves or whoever or how they collectively decided that we have earned the right to not play baseball and to just kind of cruise on home. There's like, you can't put it any other way. This team collectively decided that they had earned the right to cruise into the playoffs, and they have never earned that right. And this is what happens. This is what happens when you lose focus. This is what happens when you decide that it doesn't take focus all the time. When you live by the mindset of, oh, it's baseball, we'll figure it out. When you live by the mindset of, oh, we're professionals, we'll figure it out. We're putting in the work behind the scenes. You guys just don't see it. Cool. How'd that work out for you? It's just I feel betrayed. I feel let down. And And I'm disappointed that a group of guys that came out the way they did in the first half of the season decided to change their mindset and did this to a fan base that, you know, tried to do everything they could to will them to accomplish the goal they talked about in spring training, but they decided that that goal was okay to put on the back burner for 4 months.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
yeah, I think I think they've lost the trust of this fan base now. Like there's no question that they've totally lost this fan base. This fan base is not going to believe in them. They've lost 5 of their last 6 postseason games. Um, and scored, what did I see tonight in their losses? Scored like a total of 7 runs or something like that. Um,
8 runs, I think, in 5 games.
okay. They they have totally lost us. Like I am the most glass half full guy when it comes to this team. And while I said I'm good and I'm past it now, um, over it, through it, you know, I'm devastated. Like that's kind of my thing, but like I'm not angry. I'm not like I sat on this hotel room couch holding a Miller Lite with my feet up that entire last inning. And they got the first 2 guys on base, and all I thought to myself was, of course they're gonna do this. Of course they're gonna have the tying run at the plate. Of course they're gonna twist the knife. Like this is what they're going to do. There's no way they're winning this game. Um, and they've lost us, like people will fill the stadium, Rags. Like I don't think there's question as to whether or not people are going to show up at Citizens Bank Park because they're still going to have a winning product. Like they're still going to be one of the better teams in the National League.
Mm-hmm.
That's not within question. They're like when you look around the National League, it's going to be the same situation this year as it was next year as it was this year. You're going to have the 3 teams in the NL East. The Central's going to have to win the division. And in the West, you're going to have the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, and the Padres. That's that's it. That's what you're looking at. However, when it comes to this team, if they make it to October, no one's going to believe in them. None of us are going to be excited. We in 2022 we were like, great job, we love you. I know I've said this,
Yeah.
and I know I'm repeating myself, but I think it's important to say
No,
now
for
that the
sure.
season's over. The no one no we were happy they made it that far. They were fun, they were exciting, it was cool. Like it wasn't to be expected. And then last year it was like, good job, guys. Like great season. We're tough ending, but we'll be back next year. This year we're all just kind of like, screw you, screw you. How like you said, how dare you allow that to happen to a Mets team that you know you're better. You're just plain and simple a better team. But when they rolled the ball out there the last week, they were the better team. And well, no, to be fair, since London, they've been the better team. And you allowed that to happen. You allowed it to happen, and we now sit for what is the shortest off season of all the sports. But we have to sit through 162 games next year, Ray, just to have a chance to get back to this. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell all of our listeners right now. I told you this earlier. I'm not watching every game next year. I'm not doing it to myself. I don't care. Call me what you want. I'll go to my season games. Like I'll go to my season ticket games and I'll follow on my phone. But I'm not doing this again. I'm not. I'm not gonna sit there every night and watch 9 innings for this shit to happen in October. I'm not.
Yeah, it just it it takes on a whole new level of confusion because you don't know how it can happen to guys like we've signed, right? Schwarber no shows, Harper for the home run and things like was not that good this series. Turner, I don't understand what happened to Trey Turner, the baseball player that I thought I knew. Like I don't know what happened. Um Castellanos, give him credit, is probably the best player of this entire series from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah,
Um
he was. Yeah, he hit like 400.
uh Alec Boehm, a complete head case. Uh Bryson Stott, the same things that happened all season continued to happen. JT, just an absolute no-show. Brandon Marsh, an absolute no-show. And then, how much can you expect from Edmundo Sosa, Cody Clemens, Weston Wilson, Johan Rojas? Give
Yeah,
Weston Wilson some credit.
up
He
there.
hit the ball hard a couple times tonight. Like had some good at
Yeah,
bats
yeah.
and at least put the barrel on the ball a few times, which is not much we can say for our $300 million shortstop. I don't. It'll forever be baffling that it can happen to guys who have the kind of careers that these guys have. And you hear people talk about the back of the baseball card, like it'll always baffle me how guys like that can just lose their ability to do what they do. It'll always baffle
Yeah.
me. I'll never understand it. I'll never understand it. Because it's just, I don't know. It's hard to come up with the words to describe like how this happens or how
No,
this.
yeah, 'cause I don't think there's a clear way to describe it, Regs. I think, you've got a group of guys who this is the way they do things, and they talk the talk. I think even JT said tonight, like we did have better at bats. We did have better at bats when we had guys on base. We didn't have, we got a little too excited, a little too aggressive, and wanted to do the big thing. And it's like, then you didn't do what you said you were gonna do. Like, I don't care if you walked with nobody on base. What I care about is what happens when there are guys on base. That's what I care about. I care about when you're up with first and third and one out and a 2-0 count and you swing at ball three and pop it up to shallow right field. That's what I care about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a run you've got to have in a game like this. You've got to have it. That run has to score. Or when you have a leadoff double and you go strikeout, walk, strikeout, ground out.
Yep.
Like, and look, far be it from me to really get on Nick Castellanos. You said it. He was the best player on the team this week
That was a
by
terrible
far.
at bat.
It was a terrible at
We
bat,
talk
though.
about it all the
And
time.
it's
You
okay.
can't strike out there. Like,
It's okay. It's okay. Yes, that was those are the moments, Regs.
right.
Those are the ones we
Right.
talked about like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
That the strikeouts don't concern me until they happen in moments like that. You've got a runner on second, nobody out. The only thing you have to do is hit a ball in the air somewhere. Bryce is tagging. If that ball is anywhere from like 300 feet and out, he is tagging. You get a ball in the air or you hit it to the right side, and he's on third base with one out. And now you have a shot to score that what should be the third run of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been their chance to add their third run, and they just can't find a way to do it. And we're not going inning by inning tonight, but the JT at bat after they scored one run, it was infuriating. The Nick at bat after that, but also the JT at bat after that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again. he another piss poor bat. I don't have. There's no good way, Regs, to sit here and describe or dissect what this team is offensively other than stubborn, impatient, and futile. Like that's who they are. In 2022 they mashed their way to the World Series and they were 2 games away with 2 at home to win a World Series. In 2023 they were 2 games away with 1 game away with 2 games at home of getting back to the World Series. And this year they were nowhere close. And I think that they've blown it. I think the window is they're not winning one.
Yeah.
This group is not winning one. If they want a chance to win a World Series, then there needs to be an overhaul. And I don't mean everybody. I'm not talking about getting rid of 6, 7 guys. I'm talking about a few guys that have to go. And before we have that conversation, I just want to kind of turn to the topper portion of things because he's getting a lot of shit from people I've seen. And look, there are certainly things that you can criticize, Rob Thompson for. I'm not going to defend everything he does. But what the heck's he supposed to do when the offense just goes into a shell? Like he did try and make changes. He did try and do different things. It didn't matter. Like it didn't matter. We were literally depending on Weston Wilson to save our season. Like this is a guy that we were talking about maybe not making the roster like 3 weeks ago and he was playing in a winner go home game because Austin Hayes, our trade deadline acquisition, can't hit. And I don't want to hear he's rusty. He didn't walk. Riggs, he got here at the trade deadline and didn't walk one time as a Philly. He didn't walk one time. Do you know how hard that is to not walk? Like if there are so many people that you could have added to this roster, Tommy Pham, Jazz Chisholm, Brent Rooker, any of those guys would have been playable. Like Tommy Pham had one of the biggest hits in the Royals Yankees game the other night. And here we are not being able to start the guy we acquired at the deadline because he can't hit. The unfortunate thing for Rob Thompson is that people are gonna focus on his bullpen decision all off season. And I was here last night saying that if Ranger got you into the 5th, I wanted to see Zach Wheeler. Rob really wanted Zach game 5 at home. I don't agree with it, but he brought in Hoffman. Hoffman got out of the inning without giving up any runs. And I texted you right away and said Hoffman needs to come back out. Now at that point, we didn't know it was going to be a
right,
25 minute.
right.
But he brought him back out. I think right away you could see that Hoff didn't have it. He didn't have it. He was nowhere close.
Yep.
And he probably should have gone and gotten him. He probably should have gone and gotten him. He should have had somebody warm just in case, and he didn't. And he gets the ground ball. Trey, for some reason, decided that he had 7 minutes to throw to the plate, got the out. I don't know that they turned to, but at least give him JT a shot. Because who was it? It was Alvarez, right? Like, how do you not have a chance to double up
Yeah.
Alvarez?
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't it him?
I think so.
Like because Lindor hit next. They went and got Estevez.
Yeah.
So how are you not? And then at that point, you just truly, I wouldn't have thrown Lindor a strike. You have a base open if you turn the double play.
Well, yeah.
And I know I know who Vientos has been, but I take my chances with Vientos over Francisco Lindor every time.
Yeah.
But I'm just having a hard time getting on Rob. I know it sounds bad and it might be very homer because I really like Rob Thompson, but
I think it's just
who is he going to?
I I hear you. I get why some people might be upset about it, but if you think Rob Thompson is the reason they lost this series, like you weren't watching the same baseball games I was.
No, no.
This series was lost because our offensive players decided to never change what they did. It's plain and simple. They decided that their approaches would work come hell or high water. And you know what? They didn't. And they no-showed. You're not like, I get it. Like, again, if you're going just by like, who am I going to blame? Number one is the offense. Number two is the bullpen. The bullpen was terrible. Terrible. And I'm getting to Rob Thompson maybe third because I think starting pitching is at the bottom of the list. I don't blame starting pitching. Maybe outside of the Nola's sixth inning, but I didn't disagree with him going back out there. But like, if you want to talk about everyone else, Wheeler, dominant. Sanchez, two runs through 6, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
Nola.
5.
All right.
5.
Still, in a playoff game with a guy who it's his first time pitching like that, no problem with that.
More than fine. Yep. And a very important game.
Nola, maybe you want a little bit more out of him. Fine. If you want to nitpick, okay.
Yeah. Rough 6th. Yep.
Ranger, obviously not the sharpest, but somehow figured it out to get through 5. That is all we were looking for from Ranger. After the performances that he had given us, to get through those kinds of innings and even just get to the 5th inning after throwing 30 pitches in the first inning. Like would any of us had guessed that? Starting pitching is at the bottom of my list.
Yeah.
You don't get to Rob Thompson before going through the offense and the bullpen.
He was at like 67 pitches through 2.
Yeah.
Or something like that. 57 pitches.
Yeah, and then I think in the 5th inning, he had less pitches than Quintana did.
Yeah, 53 pitches through 2. And if you dismiss Bohm's 2 errors, then he was at like 43 pitches through 2. Like Bohm, or maybe Bohm's other errors in the 3rd. Either way, like you take away 9 pitches due to Bohm's, mental collapse, because that dude is a mental midget. And I get he had a good season. He was an all-star. I hear all that, but like the tantrums are old. They're
He completely lost himself. He lost himself.
He just when he gets in that place, he is just useless.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate, because otherwise there's a good ball player in there, but he doesn't have the mental capacity to play in this city. He just does not have it. We all thought that he turned the corner when it was, I effing hate this place, and then he turned it around. But like tonight wouldn't have been tonight without the Alec Bohm meltdown.
Yeah.
On the ground ball to first base, which was fair. It was absolutely fair. 100%
oh my
fair.
God.
But like,
Jesus,
we are fooling ourselves if we think JT is getting a big hit there.
I get it, but like, come on. Can we just like we don't have to ignore like just pure incompetency.
Yeah, and that's not like a hard call.
No, they showed the replay, and Przinsky was trying to be on the umpire's side, and even he was like, even Przinsky was like, okay, like that's, and Wainwright had to be like, what are you talking about? Like that's not even close.
It's not even a conversation. That ball was as fair as it gets.
I tweeted
like,
I watch 8 umpires get that right. How is a major league umpire getting that wrong?
And how is AJ Pierzynski allowed to be an announcer? Is my other question.
If I never have to hear him again, I'll be more than happy.
Yeah, we'll hear him because we'll be on national TV plenty next year. So So Regz, I think the question now lies with where do the Phillies go from here? 3 straight years, 3 tragic and devastating playoff, exits, and they are at a crossroads a little bit.
So I mean, let's talk
You
about who's not going anywhere.
Right. I think it's safe to say that, um, we'll just go around the diamond here. JT Realmuto's not going. No one in the starting rotation is going anywhere. Unless they can find some jabronis who want to take Taiwan
Yeah.
Walker.
Yes.
Um, but the other 4 are safe, and Andrew Painter will be here at some point. Um, if you want to go to the bullpen, Strom's obviously back. Alvarado's back. Kirkering is back. Banks is back. So there's 4. They're gonna have to make a decision about Hoffman and Estevez. They're gonna have to add. I think they're gonna have to go add a closer. Like they're gonna have to go add a guy to pitch the 9th inning and not play these games
Yeah.
anymore. Of match it, mix and match. So that is, I think that's probably fair to say. I think you probably get Jose Ruiz back. You'll probably add a couple of random guys that you didn't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
existed. Because that's the way bullpens work
Mm-hmm.
on a year to year.
Sure.
But I would anticipate, a Tanner Scott
Yeah.
being, someone they seek. He'll come here and suck, but he'll
Yeah.
be a guy that
Yeah. Right.
um in terms of the bench, like I do think that we've seen the last of Garrett Stubbs because I think they want to give JT more days off,
Yeah.
which means you're going to need a more competent offensive guy, and I think Rafael Marchand has shown that he can be a competent offensive player.
Mm-hmm.
So Stubbs will end up signing a minor league deal. I don't think he's going to get much interest because he just doesn't hit enough.
Yeah.
So I think he'd sign a minor league deal and go to AAA. Um, Sosa will be back. Clemens will be back. Um, I think Rojas will be back, but as like uh, a 4th, maybe 5th outfielder. I don't think Austin Hayes will be back.
No.
I know that he's got a year left, but I think they're going to probably just say,
Yeah.
"See you later. We'll use your money elsewhere."
Yep.
Uh, because he didn't do anything for them this
Yeah.
year, not a thing. So I think he's gone. I do think Weston Wilson will be back in the organization, but he's going to be more of what he was, a lot more of a depth piece for them.
Mm-hmm.
Is the way that I see that going down. Then you get to the starters. JT will be back at last year of his contract. Schwarber will be back last year of his contract. Obviously Bryce. Obviously Trey. And then it gets into the interesting conversations, right? You've got Bohm, who we both talked about earlier. You got Marsh, and then you've got the random center field situation and Casty. I think Casty's back. I
Yeah.
don't see
I agree.
Nick played well enough to be back here. I don't, Nick was fantastic from like, middle of April on.
Yeah.
Or middle of May on because
Yeah.
April was terrible. Middle of May on he was absolutely phenomenal. So I don't see him
Mm-hmm.
going there. So really now you're looking at 2 3 offensive starters. You're looking at Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, Brandon Marsh, the daycare. Everybody loves the daycare, but the daycare didn't get it done this year.
Yeah. They were terrible.
I think of the 3, the most likely to be here is Bryson Stott, the Gold Glove level second base. I there's more offense in there, and he's definitely more affordable than Alec Boehm is right now.
Yeah.
So I think it's and I do think that like when you look at the outfield situation, you can have Rojas and Marsh on the team simultaneously. They can both be on the team as your 4th and 5th outfielders. That's fine. That's actually a really nice 5-person outfield if Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas are your 2 bench outfielders. and then Sosa is your basically your utility guy, and then you have Marshawn. Ideally, you want a guy who can play infield and outfield. So it's likely that maybe Rojas is in AAA, or I don't know. But truly, what I think happens here is Alec Boehm is gone. I don't think he's back. I think Justin Crawford is starting in center field next year almost immediately, which is fine. I think they need a little bit of spark and a little bit of youth, and what he can provide is defensively is not much different than Rojas, and what he's going to give you offensively is a lot better than Rojas.
Mm-hmm.
So, you need that. And I know that the Yankees just won and they're one win away from an ALCS, but Regs, I don't think there's any way that the Philly, if it's about money, that the Phillies are not going to look for that guy in the Bronx to come here and be part of this team. He is everything they need offensively. Um, Certainly this is like a way too early thing to talk about. We'll talk about this later. But they need two new parts in their outfield. They went through this year trying to figure out what center field and left field were. And when you look at the postseason, 6 through 9 were absolutely brutal. They were absolutely brutal. You can't have that again next year. And two of the guys who were in 6 through 9 were the left fielder and the center fielder every night.
Yeah.
So you have to fix the outfield problem. The Phillies have a major outfield problem. Um, because if you fix it, Justin Crawford's probably hitting ninth, which is fine.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you get the right guy to play the other corner outfield position, then he's hitting at the top of the order and everybody's moving down. So like JT's probably hitting seventh or eighth, right? So like with Stott hitting seventh,
I was about to
JT's
say with
hitting eighth.
Crawford, yeah, with Crawford being a lefty, JT's probably eighth.
Yeah, which is and Stott's hitting seventh, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a really good lineup, but they need to address the outfield issue. It's a huge problem on this team, and it has to be addressed. If they miss on Soto, then they'd probably consider Anthony Santander, who had 46 home runs this year. You know, he hits just fine, but that would be a big miss because I think he's a lot of swing and miss like the
Yeah.
rest of these guys,
Yeah.
and you just can't afford swing and miss regs. They can't. Anybody that you disagree with there, or pretty what you would imagine?
No, I think, we've talked about this enough that I don't think we're really far off in this. I get it. I get it that stuff has to happen, and I don't disagree with it. I just where's the Trey Turner I thought I was getting? Like I just he's been such. I get it how he was playing before he got injured. He was unbelievable, but we've yet to see that translate over an entire season. I just having him play like the Trey Turner I think like I remember or I like was hoping for. I just feel like turns like just makes everything that much better. And again, I'm not breaking, any news here that Trey Turner playing well makes this lineup better. Like, yeah, no shit, Regs. Thanks a lot for your great insight here on your podcast. This is not the $300 million guy that we signed. This isn't him. We watched this guy in Washington and Los Angeles. We watched him a lot. Like not a small amount, a lot. And I don't know, man. I'm praying that something clicks with him and we get some semblance of the guy we thought we were signing. Cause it's just this is not the guy. This is not him. And what can we haven't mentioned him, but like I think Dave takes a little bit of heat for this.
Absolutely.
I like
Absolutely.
for all the the Schwarber, the Castellanos signings, things like that. He has not been good at trade deadlines for this team. And that's not because he hasn't paid a premium. Like, we paid a premium for Carlos Estevez, and by all accounts, got one of the better guys at the deadline at the time. I think I'd still rather that Kopech guy or Tanner Scott, to be quite honest. But like, Dave has not sought to make the big splash that might set the team up for the second half of the year. He hasn't done it yet. And I just think, like, there's got to be a wake-up call to every person in this organization. Like, it just has to be. And I don't like, and look, we'll see if they have what it takes to, and I know I keep comparing them, but like, to be the Boston Celtics of this past NBA season, where that team never took their foot off the gas. They had one goal and they did not did they lose to some teams they shouldn't have? Like we've talked about, yes, but they never lost focus and took their foot off the gas to what their purpose was. And they ran through the playoffs and won a championship.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you said, you'll never believe it until it happens with this team now. Like that's it. You'll never believe it until it happens with this team. And
No,
it's a
lost.
shitty place to be.
Yeah, I think we can all agree we've lost complete faith in them, and they deserve that. They don't deserve this fan base to, you know, so much defense going on for them on social media by some like people who clearly are just blinded by what this is. Like, how dare you blame Alec Boehm and his 280 batting average and his 97 RBIs? Stop with the meaningless stats.
Yeah, right.
Like, RBIs are not a one person stat.
Yeah.
People have to be on base. And when you have Bryce Harper and um say what we want about Trey Turner, he was still like a 330 guy for the first part of the season when Boehm was doing his damage. Like, those guys are on base all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're gonna have 98 RBIs. When it mattered, he choked. When it mattered, Bryce Harper wasn't good. The Mets stars came through in this series. The Phillies stars came through
One time.
once.
Yep.
Once. Stars win games in the postseason. Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, they came through in this series. Mark Vientos, not necessarily a well-known star, but he's becoming a better player. We'll see what happens his second time through the league.
Yeah, right.
We know how that works.
Yeah.
But stars win, and the Phillies have Kyle Schwarber's making 18 million, Bryce Harper's making 24 million, Trey Turner's making 30 million, JT Realmuto is making like 23 million, right? So you got four dudes right there.
Casty.
Four. Well, I'm not including him because
Well,
of
he
the way
he
he
played
played.
decently, yeah.
But you've got those dudes right there who are making damn near $100 million by themselves. Four guys making $100 million by themselves. Hell, I'll throw Aaron Nola in there. I thinking back to that start, I know I was a little more defensive of him last night. Dude's making $172 million. He got a $172 million extension. Last night needed to be better. Plain and simple, it needed to be better.
Yeah.
But here we are. And the Stars did not perform. They just simply did not perform. And the Mets did. And that pains me so much to say because they're celebrating right now. And the Phillies are having a very uncomfortable and angry train ride, bus ride, flight. I don't know what they do from New York, but something back to Philly. for a long off season, and then you got to go to spring training and you got to do this shit all over again. At what point does it become enough? And at what point do you do what you said, which is you go coast to coast, post to post, starting line to finish line with the same mentality. And you do it knowing that this like you can't shrivel up when October rolls around.
Yeah, you know when you don't have to do that when you're playing like the best team in baseball. Not when you just call yourselves that and you've coasted for the past 3 months.
95 wins an NL East championship for nothing. They'll raise that they raise that banner. They'll do ceremonial banner raising next year, and I will not go. I won't. I will not put myself through it. Like I'm not gonna celebrate that crap when they went out like
Yeah.
nothing. Like they went out like nothing even happened.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like they were just kind of invited to this whole experience and didn't really want to participate.
Yep.
So they went home. And now we're left in the hands of a 2-2 Eagles team and a Sixers team who we believe in probably less than this Phillies team. So we unfortunately don't have a lot to talk about, Regs, um, for the next so many months. And we've got to watch a Mets team now play a one of the two teams who are going to go 5 games in this postseason or in this NLDS. They're going to win the World Series, Regs. Just buckle in. We're gonna be faced with a Mets Yankees World Series.
I really wanted to burn that stupid sign. All right.
Yeah.
Screw
I
these
I
guys.
I,
I'm
I'm gonna
I'm done
I'm
talking
gonna
about them.
well, I'm gonna listen, here's what I'm gonna say. I don't know if Pete Alonso will be back. And Jose Iglesias probably won't be back. So thank God. Because that guy, right? Um y- the Mets are going to go all in for Juan Soto. If they don't get him, they're this team won't be back doing this again next year. They found a bunch of retread pitchers who went on a revenge tour against the Phillies. The only thing they were missing was an former Atlanta Brave who could beat us in the postseason because Quintana got us and Minaya got us. And both of those guys we got in 2022. So this was the revenge tour. They better win it this year because they're not going to be back next year unless they get Soto. And I don't know that they're going to. There's my stance on that. So, Mets fans, if you're listening, enjoy your run. Because if you've seen with us, it's very fleeting and it's not easy to get back there. It's just not easy. When you play this much baseball, it's not easy. So, good luck. I wish you luck. I was classy tonight, but now I'm back to being a hater. All right, man. Well, I don't think I have much else to say. It's been fun. It's disappointing that it's over now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna end with this. Put a percentage chance on them running it back and saying we won 95 games in the division.
40.
Yeah, I got it around 35, 40. I just don't think that they can look this fan base. This fan base is too smart.
Yeah.
They know that.
My initial thought
And
was 33 and I upped it a little bit.
yeah, I just think they know that this fan base is too smart um to run it back and make us believe that we can win something with this group
Yeah.
because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. Um, something has to change, and I think there are certainly things to look forward to next year. I think we're going to get Justin Crawford. I think we're going to get Andrew Painter. Miller probably won't be here to 26, but he's not far. So there's some silver lining, right? Like there's some stuff. Um, But and you have an angry owner.
Mm-hmm.
An angry owner who likes to spend and isn't worried about, next year's the year to go over because you're going to go back under the following year. You lose
Yeah.
both JT and Kyle's contracts. So
Yeah.
$40 million comes off the books the following year, and you're not paying Aiden Miller, you're not paying Alec Boehm likely, you're still not paying Stott, you're not paying Justin Crawford, you're not paying Andrew Painter. So like next year, if you're going to go over the luxury tax, 2025 is the year to go over the luxury tax because you pay the penalty for one season and then you get back under.
Yeah.
Which isn't the end of the world. So I'm hoping that's the plan. I can't believe I'm talking about this on October effing 9th.
I know.
But here we go. You and I haven't talked about it, but if you're listening to this, we'll try and hop on here before the Eagles play on Sunday. God, I can't believe I'm banking on the Eagles to save my sanity, but here we are. We'll talk about jumping back on between, now and then just to do a preview. It'll be a short episode because we won't have anything Phillies to talk about. So, but hey, man, look at it this way. In 13 days, the Sixers open.
Cool.
When we could be watching the World Series, we'll be watching the Sixers play. Yay us. All right, everybody. We love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for the ride. Phillies, screw off. We'll talk to y'all later.
Yeah, thanks for nothing.
Oh, my God. Deep to right field. Way up there and way out of here.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.